By the 1920s, something new existed in America, a middle class. Not rich, not poor. Comfortable, secure. Factory workers living in houses, taking vacations, planning for retirement. This was unprecedented. For the first time in American history, regular workers could send their kids to college. Not Harvard, but state schools, teaching colleges. Their children became teachers, accountants, engineers. Upward mobility became real. They took vacations, actual vacations. Things that had been exclusively for the rich were now accessible to factory workers. They had weekends. They had savings. They had hope. And here's the kicker. Ford's profits doubled within 2 years. He proved you could pay workers more and make more money. Training costs plummeted. Quality soared. Innovation increased. His workers cared. By 1922, Ford's parking lots were full of Model Ts owned by the workers who built them. Ford wasn't just paying wages. He was creating his own customer base. Genius. Today, we're having the exact same debate. Amazon workers doing repetitive tasks. High turnover, low wages. The same problem Ford faced 110 years ago. Some companies get it. Costco pays well above minimum wage, average $24 per hour. Their turnover is 6% compared to retail average of 60%. Their profits are massive. They're following the Ford Playbook. In-N-Out pays nearly double the fast food average. Their workers stay for years. Lines around the block. Consistent quality. Low turnover means experienced staff who actually care about your burger. The lesson Ford taught us 110 years ago is still true. Cheap labor is expensive. When you pay people well, they stay. They care. They're productive. Your customers get better service. The descendants of Ford's $5 a day workers? They're doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers. That one decision in 1914 created generational wealth for millions of families. Not wealth like mansions, wealth like stability. And when we stopped following Ford's lesson, when wages stagnated while profits soared, the middle class started shrinking. It's not a coincidence. Ford proved the formula works. We just forgot it. When workers thrive, companies thrive. When companies thrive, workers thrive. Ford's $5 day wasn't charity. It was the smartest business decision in American history. It created the richest economy the world has ever seen. The next time someone tells you that paying workers more will destroy business, just remember, we tried it. In 1914, it created the middle class. It built America. What modern company needs a $5 day moment? Let me know in the comments. January 5th, 1914. Henry Ford walks into his factory and announces he's going to double every worker's salary. Overnight. His competitors think he's lost his mind. The Wall Street Journal calls it economic blunder. They were all wrong. It's 1910. If you're a factory worker in America, your life is hard. You work 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. You make about $2.34 a day, barely $600 a year. Your boss? He lives in a mansion. You live in a room with 6 other people. This isn't unusual. This is just how it works. Your kids get sick, you can't afford a real doctor. You get injured at work, there's no insurance. You're one bad day away from losing everything. Meanwhile, Henry Ford has a problem. His Highland Park factory is hemorrhaging workers. In 1913 alone, he had to hire 52,000 people just to maintain a workforce of 14,000. Because working on the assembly line sucks. It's the same motion, over and over, all day. Installing the same bolt 8,000 times per shift. Your hands bleed, your back aches, your mind goes numb. Every time someone quits, Ford has to hire someone new, train them, wait for them to get up to speed. It's costing him millions and slowing down production. Ford had already revolutionized manufacturing with the moving assembly line in 1913. Before this, building a car took over 12 hours. After? 93 minutes. Production exploded. But there was a problem: the humans. Ford had optimized the machines, but he hadn't optimized the people. They were breaking down faster than the equipment. So Ford did something crazy. He decided to solve a business problem by doing something that looked like charity. January 5th, 1914. Ford makes the announcement: the $5 workday, more than double the industry average. And he's cutting the workday from 9 hours to 8 hours. Imagine making $2.34 a day, barely surviving, and suddenly your paycheck says $5 for one less hour of work. It wasn't just more money, it was dignity. The next morning, 10,000 men showed up at the Ford factory gates in the middle of winter, desperate for jobs. Some had traveled hundreds of miles. They left their families, their homes, everything, just for a chance. The Detroit Fire Department had to use water hoses to disperse the crowd. In the freezing cold. Men got soaked but didn't leave. That's how badly people wanted these jobs. That's how desperate life was. Within weeks, Ford workers' lives changed. For the first time, they could afford meat at dinner, not just bread and potatoes. Their kids weren't going to bed hungry anymore. They started saving money, actual savings, something that had been impossible on $2.34 a day. Banks that had ignored them before now welcomed their deposits. By 1915, Ford workers were moving their families out of one-room tenements into actual houses, with bedrooms and running water, things they'd only dreamed about. And then the impossible happened. Ford workers started buying Ford cars, not because they had to, because they could. A Model T cost $440. At $5 a day, that's 88 days of wages. Suddenly, achievable. Inside the factory, everything changed. Worker turnover collapsed from 370% to 16% in 1 year. The same people Ford had been losing monthly were now staying for years. They cared about their work. Meet Anton Babinsky, Polish immigrant. Started at Ford in 1914, making $2.34. By 1916, he owned a house, sent his daughter to high school, first in his family. His son became an engineer. This wasn't unusual. This was the pattern. James Wilson, black worker from Alabama, part of the Great Migration. Ford didn't just pay him $5, he paid him the same $5 as white workers. Revolutionary for 1914. His family escaped sharecropping. His kids graduated high school. Giuseppe Romano, Italian immigrant who couldn't read English. On $5 a day, he could afford night school, learned to read, started a small business with his savings, employed 5 people by 1920. The $5 day wasn't just a wage, it was a ladder. Other companies had to respond. Studebaker raised wages, Dodge raised wages, Packard raised wages. If they didn't, their workers left for Ford. The entire industry was forced to change. As wages rose across industries, workers started buying things, not just survival items, washing machines, radios, furniture. Stores that had catered only to the wealthy now had working-class customers with cash to spend. Entire neighborhoods were built for factory workers. Not slums, real houses with yards. Developers realized workers could now afford mortgages. The suburbs weren't created for the rich, they were created for Ford workers. Consumer spending exploded. This created more jobs, in stores, in shipping, in manufacturing, which created more consumers, which created more jobs. It was a virtuous cycle that transformed the entire economy.